Hit it.
Oh, hey everybody, how y'all doing? Welcome back. We are doing part 2 of the emotional maturity series. This is unpacking our shit with Fee and K.Jr. That is who? Who are you?
I'm Fee.
And I'm K.Jr. Welcome. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to say that doesn't sound backwards. I don't know. I feel like my introduction sounds backwards and shit, but we're gonna keep rolling with it. So,
what sounds backwards?
The intro. I gotta nail some of that shit down. It just sounds so wonky and backwards for some reason. I gotta play with some of the words.
Okay.
But I'll do that. I'll do that later. But right now we're gonna talk about emotional maturity and how to gauge whether or not the person that you are dealing with has it, or whether that person who doesn't have it is you. And if you guys are both on the same page, how to remain on the same page of emotional maturity, because if you don't have that, you really don't have that great of relationship. Basically,
communication be trash. Basically,
I think where we left off is figuring out that the basis of emotional maturity is personal accountability.
Yep. It's actually being able to like acknowledge, understand, and pretty much regulate your emotions. Healthily regulate your emotions, and not be out here just popping off and cussing folks out, killing folks. Just how to regulate our emotions. So that's what we were talking about.
Now, as far as gauging whether or not someone is on the same emotional maturity level, you have to think about like we said, like personal accountability. What are they taking accountability for in their life? What are they not taking accountability for? How much are you getting blamed for? Because a lot of people fall into the trap of blaming everybody else.
Wait a minute. Let's pause. Hold on. That hit me right here. Hold on.
You all right? You okay?
Did you say how much are they blaming? How much of this stuff are they blaming you for?
Yeah.
It's amazing because people do. Yeah. Early on, if people are doing that, I've run into quite a few people like lately. That the accountability is the word that they're blaming everyone else for their.
For some people.
The who? The weak link.
The weak link in some people,
It's amazing. I'm surprised at it, and it's people that are older. I'm gonna stop putting age on stuff, but I just be surprised.
I mean, you don't want to put an age on it, but it is what it is, and I think it comes to a point, at this stage of the Black community, to trying to just start calling a thing a fucking thing and stop like skirting around shit. It is a lot of older people who have that problem because they were never shown the example of anyone giving any accountability for hurting them or doing things to them or blaming them for certain things. They never got to experience that. So how you gonna know if you don't know what that looks like? You know what I'm saying?
That's true. But you don't know what you don't know.
Like we keep talking, we're now in a phase where we're getting to do that a lot more, and they're very hesitant about that because it's a resentment that they have to be held accountable for hurting us the way that no one was held accountable for hurting them, and they can't reconcile that within themselves enough to be like, okay, maybe all that shit that they did was really, really bad, but I didn't have a right to inflict that on other people.
Absolutely.
Especially on my own, children or family and things like that. There's lines that you don't cross, and that the lack of emotional maturity, you become a habitual line stepper. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, that makes sense. But yeah, I am surprised. That was beautifully put. I'm just going to piggyback on it just because it's like, but that was beautifully put, because I'm running into people that really are not owning their behavior. Do you know what I mean? It's that person made me mad because, well, she said this, and so what am I supposed to do? Just let them do X, Y, Z, or let her talk to me that way, it's like, what? What do you mean? So the bottom line is being able to acknowledge your emotions, because at the end of the day, because this is what I said the last time, that emotions are just simply feedback. So all emotions, so good ones, bad ones, whatever how you want to label it. I really don't like using those words, but that's for the sake of just trying to, for clarification purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Good emotions, bad emotions, we're supposed to, just ask ourselves, okay, why do I feel this? Why, even when it's, happy stuff, why is this making me happy? Blah, blah, blah. Because at the end of the day, like I said, they're feedback, and also there are the effects of like unmet needs or like painful stories when you think about what emotions are, period. So unmet needs and painful stories,
Mm-hmm.
when you think of like the basis of emotions. So, and it's important to be accountable for that, because again, we project that onto other people. We skirt the responsibility of owning it.
Mm-hmm.
We could just, like how we talked about in the last segment about the guy who shot up the those Asian people, and how one of
Mm-hmm.
the officers said he was just having a bad day, and we're just like, no. So okay, I know that triggers you every time I say it, but that's the only example I got right now.
It's like we won't
But
even get into how the lack of accountability white people have in this country, but that's a whole nother conversation.
that's a whole nother
We're not
conversation.
talking about them right now.
We're not talking, right?
You
Exactly.
know what? I'm tired of that shit too.
We right. We already know what the lack of accountability for them are, but we're going to talk about us, Black people, us, women,
but that's a really good example
men.
Of that, of just
right.
that kind of perpetually excuse emotional maturity. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you
and
find
trash behavior.
Trash behavior, and you find that in our community, and it comes out in ways, the way some mothers protect their sons from any personal accountability. That's how it manifests in our community in that way. You know what I mean? They're very, very hesitant to hold them accountable. You know what I'm saying? Especially, Black men holding other Black men accountable for the shit that they do, the things that they say. You know what I mean? That there's nobody checking them. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody checking that behavior. So can we really be shocked when they exhibit the extreme version of whatever raggedy behavior that they were already, displaying to you? They were already showing that to you. So why are you now shocked that they've done X, Y, and Z? And why are you in denial that they could ever do X, Y, and Z? Because look at all this shit that they've done. All
that went unchecked.
You'd excuse. It was just escalating. You know what I mean? It's always a situation where things just escalate more and more and more and more. You know what I mean? And you'd have, moms or women, and then you have, their friends or other men, talking about, oh no, you can never. It's like, nah, you really could. I mean, give an example. R. Kelly, that was a really good example of how money can control your emotional maturity. Money can control your common fucking sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, money controls a lot.
It does.
Which is why people think it's the root of all evil, when it's really not, though. It's really not the root of all evil.
Money. It's never money itself. It's the love of money. The things that you will sacrifice, or the things that you'll do. You know what I'm saying? These rappers out here be doing a lot of that shit. And I'm not talking to no stupid, Illuminati bullshit, because that's all bullshit. What I'm talking about is more sacrificing bits of our culture, sacrificing, different
prostituting ourselves, like how we talking about earlier, prostituting ourselves for that. Because I don't think it's necessarily bad to have a love of money either. It's about what you're gonna do
from financial security. It's not money, it's financial security.
That's
what that is.
But I don't think that's bad either.
No, that's
you know what I mean. Right. I don't think it's bad to love money. I don't think the love of money is bad. I think the things that people do, some of the malicious things that people do to get money, is the issue. Do you know what I mean? Because we all need money. We
exactly.
Do. So I think that part of it is bad. The things that we will, quote unquote, sacrifice, if you're going to talk like the Illuminati stuff, the things that you'll do just to get the money.
That was such a dumbass distraction. It's like, you know what the Illuminati really is? Fucking, pop stars and rappers and shit. They play with that imagery because they know y'all stupid motherfuckers are gonna go, take a click on the video, you dumb motherfuckers.
This is clickbait.
Sorry.
But yeah. Look, emotional maturity. See, okay, speaking of that, you see, that was emotion right there. That's the that's listen, let's gauge that on a scale of on a scale of 0 to 10 on emotional maturity. See, that evokes some emotion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
emotions, just feelings. Emotions are just feedback. So what is that telling us about how that made you feel? Is either an unmet need or a painful story. So what would you say is behind your emotion behind that? What do you think the underlying thinking? Was
I think
that
the
what
underlying
emotion?
thing
What was the
is
emotion first? What do you think that
anger.
is? That
Anger.
you think it's anger? You know
Anger
that for
at
sure.
watching people with money get away with so much shit. And so much shit that is allowed because of money.
Yep,
I think
that's
that's
good.
where that anger comes from. And I hate that. I've always hated that. But then to have experienced it for myself in my own life, in my own personal life, that shit is so fucking ugly and nasty and disgusting. But you know, we all have come in this culture, and they talked about it a little bit um in that R. Kelly documentary. This one young lady, she was talking about in her family, nobody really looked at her, nobody really paid attention to her. They were just like, whatever. And then when she started doing, I think he was doing his hair, or not his hair, like his barber or something. There's something as far as like styling that she was doing.
Because I didn't watch it, so yeah.
That I watched a large part of it. There's some I did have to turn off to, couldn't handle. But she was talking about how she was largely ignored and not as well respected within her family until she started having this high profile, type of high profile job. People were seeing her out and about. She was making all this money, and that status and the prestige, people started treating her differently. You know what I
Of
mean? And
course.
we do that within our own families. You see it in every Tyler Perry movie. You know what I'm saying? That the rich snobby person who has all this stuff, but in the basis they're really a shit person because they have a real lack of emotional maturity, because they have a lack of accountability, because they've always been able to buy their way out of it. People
Yeah.
buy their way out of maturing all the time.
I'm not saying, yeah. Like you can do
All
a
the
lot with
time.
money. You can do a whole lot with money. You know what I'm saying? You get
Yes, you can.
so much privilege that comes with money. So why do I have to worry about being a good person inside when I ain't
I
really gotta deal
know.
with people if I don't have to? If I could just buy my, you know what I'm saying? I could just buy
Buy your
shit, do shit,
privacy.
bypass stuff. I mean, yeah, if we look at it that
Yeah.
way.
It is very alluring, but look at the things that people have, and we're talking about Black people specifically. Look at the things that have been allowed to happen. People with, and sometimes it's not even just money. Sometimes a lot of it is just status within the community, social status, how people see them, what people think about them. A lot of times it's just that, and that will carry over into, blurring the lines of accountability. You know, you don't want to believe this person can do X, Y, and Z because they are, this, and
The
that. You know what
status.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they get away with a lot of other, thievery, abuse, all kinds of shit that they get away with. And that is a really extreme way of buying your way out of accountability, whether it be through money or, social favors. But that's
Look,
how a
it
lot of
happens.
that happens. And that happens in
Yeah.
this community. Most of all, it happens in the church. That's where a
I
lot of
knew this you were
that,
gonna say that. I knew it when I was
but
like
it's true.
pedestal. I was like in prestige and status. I was just like, yep.
Mm-hmm. It happens so much in the church. And I think the first thing that church comes to mind is because I grew up in the church. I was one of them kids going to church, 3-4 times a week. So I saw how a lot of that played out. Now, we weren't a big church at all. You know what I'm saying? At all. But you could see certain things, even as a kid. Or I don't know if it's because it was me and I was just paying attention because I was nosy, probably that.
You
But
post
you can
posters
probably
all your
just,
life. You know what I mean?
you know what I mean? So you just kind of, you see different things going on, and you see that in church a lot. You know what I'm saying? I'm fortunate to have the preacher that I had coming up, Reverend Adams, rest in peace. You know, wonderful guy, very, polite, wasn't a very flashy dude, you know what I'm saying? Didn't depend on the church for his money, he was a teacher for a long time, you know what I'm saying? So just a nice humble dude. You know what I'm saying? And then you get another preacher in there, and it's this flying down the aisle in a red robe, and literally, I'm not making this shit up. Woo! And a fucking snaggle tooth come out that motherfucking mouth. Listen, it was just like, where the fuck did y'all get this nigga? Did y'all get this? Y'all got this nigga for the pool hall, didn't you? Y'all went down to the pool hall and dragged this motherfucker up and put that nigga in a robe and said, you gonna be your preacher today. That's what the fuck happened.
I quit the whole conversation. The entire
I'm just saying.
Conversation.
It happens. It happens. You know what I'm saying? And all it takes is a few people with money to influence things and to change things. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It don't take a lot. It does not take a lot. So we do see that in the Black community in a lot of different ways. And yeah, a lot of it is played out in the church, and then it's played out in our families. Those are the two main places that it gets carried out. It does get carried out at work, and that's a whole different level of shit. We're gonna have to do a one about the psychology in the workplace for us, because that's
definitely want to do that
in and of itself. Because that So
yeah, I do think we should do that.
It's mainly in the home, in that church. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because it could be anywhere though. Because guess what? It's about our behavior, period. So our behavior follows us. So yes, we are supposed to. Not supposed to. I be trying to refrain from using certain words, but anyway, I know in certain places it's one of those things where it's like, we don't behave the same way everywhere. So you know, it says like a time and a place for everything. So we're not going to show up acting turned up and ratchet at a club like we would at a club, and we're not going to do that at church. You see what I'm saying? My point is that our behavior follows, certain types of behavior follow us. So it's about how we getting those emotions out. So they're going to be, if we're spending a large part of our time at work, we're at work, you know what I mean? And so it's going to come out. That's what my point is. So I think that would be a good segment for us to do, for real, to touch on that. Yes, because
on the board
I never really started thinking about that until my therapist rest in peace, 2020.
Yes.
Oh shit, man. Oh, anyway, I'm not gonna spend too much time on that because that makes me feel some kind of way, of course. But my therapist is the one who was advocating for me to quit my job, because she just was like, she's like, your vibrancy, your quality, it's affecting your quality of life. She said, you're like not even the same person anymore. And here I am, not even realizing, even though I know I'm going through stuff, and I was having like these not like terminal illness issues, but I was having some like lingering, withstanding current health issues. And she's just like, your job is stressing you out. You are hypervigilant. I had never even heard of that word before. So here it is. She's sending me all this material on what hypervigilance is. But it's like, I'm sitting here. It was like a war zone when I thought about it. It was like, when I started researching it, and it's like the effects of people that have like PTSD about stuff. So I'm constantly always on high alert. You know what I mean? So I'm going to work just like, who gonna say some shit to me today? Because, you know, at one point it was like I was getting suspended all the time. It's like, I am 40 years old and I'm getting suspended from a job. Right. In my 20s, I was real like wild and reckless and with my mouth and all of that. So yes, remnants of that is still in me, but I'm like, I'm 40 plus years. Why am I getting suspended from work? And it's because, yes, I'm a vocal person, but I'm not just outright just cussing everybody out at the job. It was more so me speaking my feelings, saying how I feel. I guess it was just too much passion or whatever. So here it is. I'm at work thinking I'm cool with a supervisor. We're like friends on, you know, outside of work, and she's a supervisor. So then we get into certain situations. I'm looking at her like, you're not going to back me up on this when you know that I'm not totally wrong. We talked about this. So, you know what I mean? It was just a lot of like backbiting and gossiping. So anyway, my therapist told me I was hypervigilant. And I'm saying all that to say.
Can I pause this real quick? I'm going to edit it out. Hold on a second.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that. I'm gonna cut all that out.
That's so you go back and rewatch the whole thing? You go back and rewatch the whole video and then edit?
Kind of. My editing process is weird.
Oh, because you said you're gonna cut it out. I'm like, so you got to go back through it to cut it out, right? The entire thing. Okay, because we like legit have 5 minutes. We got like 5 minutes. So I wanted to say that how we even showing up at work when it were times when I would react a certain way. When they were telling me I had to let the supervisors know when I had to use the restroom or something, right? That would make me pretty much kind of like pop off. Like, I'm fucking grown. I ain't about to tell y'all when I gotta go to the fucking bathroom because I'm not. My doctor gave me a note. Y'all knew, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But thinking about tying this into emotional maturity, could I have handled it a certain, I could have. So that was me again. Emotions are feedback, and it's the result of either unmet need or a painful story. So it's something behind why I feel like, why, you know what I mean? So we have to be accountable. So I'm holding myself accountable for some of the ways that I was reacting to certain situations. And now going forward, and like right now, period, I'm aware that some of the ways that I reacted wasn't the best way, but that comes with now growth and telling myself, okay, you ain't got to handle shit like that. But that's what we need to be, period. As humans, we have to say, no, that probably wasn't the best way, as opposed to saying, continuing the story, because that's another thing. We have to change the narrative. So continuing the story, like, well, they ain't have to come off on me like that. This, blaming it on everybody else, even though they have their role in it too.
Right. Everybody plays their part, but I mean,
play their part.
That's you.
That's what I'm saying. So everybody has their role. So I have to remove myself from the situation because I can't change anyone since they were not willing to accept their role in it because they knew what they were doing. And so since I knew what they were doing and they wouldn't own up to it, I'm the one that's popping off and I'm looking like I'm the, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm the crazy one.
Exactly.
And so since I'm an employee, their supervision. So I was constantly looked at the one, I'm just like the hostile pop. It's like, y'all know exactly what y'all doing, but y'all going to make it seem like I'm crazy. So I'm owning my part. No, I shouldn't, respond in that way. I'm going to just remove myself from this situation because this is a hostile situation at this point. Do you know what I mean? Y'all making this a very uncomfortable workplace. So we have to have those conversations. We have to be mature enough to say, these are my emotions. This is why I feel this way. It's just about doing the work and assessing it and being mature about it. So you usually come from the familial aspect. I usually come from the relationship aspect because that's the one where I have the most issues with. It's like in relationships, own your shit, own your emotions. Don't shut down. Don't ignore. Don't do all this other negative stuff that's going to make the problem bigger. Address the emotions. So yeah, that's my take on emotional maturity.
I do want to end out on a couple of tips from my therapist about fighting fair, and emotional maturity has a lot to do with that. And this can kind of help keep your emotional maturity fine-tuned, especially when you're having conflict and issues with people. Number one, try not to cuss. I know some people do have a natural vocabulary for cussing, but do not cuss at the person you were talking to. That helps.
I like that.
1, 2, no low blows. Don't do that. That defeats the entire purpose of the conversation. And that involves checking yourself. Because I know when somebody says stuff, it's very easy to have a reaction and to say the first thing that comes out your mouth.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's not always the best thing. Some things just need to stay up here.
Yeah.
Some things need to stay up there. Yeah. So don't do low blows. The third one is to really actively listen. Don't just, listen for your opportunity to talk. And I know this is taught a lot in communication classes, really listen to hear. Don't listen for your opportunity to talk because you're really missing out on hearing them out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You really have to hear somebody out because that goes into the fourth part, which is to really reach to understand. You know what I mean? Don't just hear here to understand, listen to understand, and
I like
have
it.
just a little bit of more of an understanding. Now, if you can't pull all that together with this person,
throw them
you know
away.
what I'm saying? And you're taking the steps necessary.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? Then you do need to cut yourself off from that. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So lack of emotional maturity is just going to help you in so many different relationships. And I think mostly it's just the relationship with yourself.
Period.
Because you got to be emotionally mature enough to have a relationship, a real relationship with yourself.
And everything starts with self.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. See what I'm saying? See how you did that? That's ending on a good note. Thank you for that.
Yay!
Thank you
We
for
thank
that.
y'all
That was
for
good.
joining us. I do want to say, when you bring stuff up, I take notes. So I got some notes here about hypervigilance and the psychology of Black folks in the workplace. I also want to feature these. I got to cover up the company name because they're not paying me to promote these handy dandy tacks that I'm going to use for my board. I'm very excited. Getting a few knickknacks from my office.
Hey,
but that's neither here nor there. We thank you all for coming down here, down onto the corner to talk, to unpack all of our Negro shit and trauma. We're going to get through it, y'all. We're going to pull it right back together. We will see you all next week, and we're going to talk about the purpose of relationships. Not just relationships, that's all the purpose of them. Why are you here? As Jocelyn Hernandez would say, Ho, why are you here? You know what I'm saying?
Not calling Jocelyn.
Not to say that the other
not calling,
but I'm just saying, why are you here?
Why are you here? Not calling. Jocelyn.
Stevie, when we get mad at me,
listen, I don't even watch that no more. It's funny. I ain't about to go down that rabbit hole with you. Thank y'all for listening to Unpacking Our Shit. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.